Let's try it again. Sorry, having a bit of issues here. Everybody, and welcome to Forever Motorsports. It is a Friday afternoon. We are in Monaco. It is, let's sort something out, the biggest race of the year, as far as I'm concerned. It's the one race every single driver wants to win. Yes, it might not be everybody's favorite race with regards to, overtaking and it being competitive and stuff like that, but it doesn't get any better than Monaco. Monte Carlo. It's everything that Formula One is, isn't it? It's like the high society, the glitz, the glam, the supercars, the yachts, the event, the location. Doesn't get much more historic than Monaco, and hopefully we are in for a really, really cool weekend of Formula One racing. Given the fact that it has been so competitive in the last few races, no longer maybe quite the dominance and the expected. Just Red Bull 1-2 all the time. All of a sudden, we've got a team in the mix with the McLarens really doing a good job the last few races, and hopefully we're going to see another competitive race. So the one thing about this track is that qualifying will be very interesting, and it is one of those as well. If you do well in qualifying, it is a track that can sometimes be quite difficult to pass. So you do well in qualifying and you have a decent drive, you can pretty much sort of hold position and maybe even look to push a bit further. So it should be an interesting Grand Prix with regards to that, because it doesn't look like Red Bull's just got this ridiculous pace, for example, that nobody else can match. The McLarens do seem to be matching. The Ferraris definitely took a step forward as well. So hopefully we're talking about a race which might be a little bit closer. Yeah, I mean, we're going to start in about 2 minutes' time. Charlotte Leclerc's currently in his car, and we're just going to sort out. So I'm just going to move myself to the studio so we can see the tracker and things like that. That's what we want to be at. So, yeah, let me know what you think of the... or what did you think of the last Grand Prix, for example? What are your predictions for this weekend? Where are we sitting at? How are we feeling? Are we feeling nervous? If you're a Red Bull fan, for example, are you nervous that maybe, the McLarens are after you, for example? Are you still feeling pretty confident? As a McLaren fan, you must be pretty chuffed with life. It looks like all of a sudden, you are competitive, which is the main thing for any sort of Formula One team, is to be competitive. So it's exciting times for a lot of these teams. And for me as a Ferrari fan, I'm seeing semi-positives. We're kind of getting there, aren't we? But maybe not quite exactly where we want to be. Let me not drop my phone. But again, we're taking steps forward. And at the end of the day, even just as Formula One fans, we just want it to be competitive, don't we? We want to see different cars throughout the grid. We want to see different cars challenging and not just, Max Verstappen steaming his way through. So I'm going to put a poll out saying which... car will be quickest in FP1. I'm going to give you options of McLaren. And we do have some cars going up. By the way, practice has officially begun. I'm going to give you the option of a Ferrari. I'll give you the option, obviously, of a Red Bull. And I'll give you an option of Mercedes. Go and let me know who you think is going to be fast in this free practice. Now, remember last time, when we go back a few weeks ago in Imola, we saw the Ferraris and Mercedes very quick during the practices, and then all of a sudden, Max Verstappen doing a Max Verstappen and pulling out a phenomenal qualifying and gaining that pole. It is kind of what he does, isn't it? Unfortunately, if you're a non-Red Bull fan, that's just how it happens. He every single time he seems to be complaining about a car or something like that, he just pulls it out when it matters, gets that pole, and ends up usually winning the races. But we are seeing a bit more of a challenge coming. The likes of Lando Norris being far more competitive. He's obviously won a race now, came second last time, and it wasn't a breakaway victory for Max Verstappen. So hopefully we will see a similar thing this weekend with a bit more competitiveness across the sessions and more importantly on the race itself. Remember, this is one which was famously won by Daniel Ricciardo a few years ago in the Red Bull. Obviously, that iconic photo of him falling into the pool. So he'll have good memories of that. Somebody who has not quite managed to make the return to Formula One that he would have liked to, and needs to start showing something. if he is to retain a seat in that Cash, what's the Visa Cash App RB, or even try and maybe even regain his old seat back in the Red Bull. And looking at the overhead pictures there, all the yachts. It's a gorgeous Grand Prix from how the different side, how the other side live, isn't it? One day, I mean, it's one of those things. For example, if you're a Formula One fan and somebody gave you a carte blanche budget and said, "Where would you like to go watch Formula One?" It probably has to be Monaco, doesn't it? Not just for the race, but just for the entire weekend. As I said, so famous, so iconic, and I reckon this must be so much fun if you are rich. So if you're not, well, unfortunately, it's not really the poor man's Grand Prix. So stay in your lane. Stay in your lane. Like me, I know my lane. My lane is not Monaco. My lane is please come down to South Africa and have a game, have a race at Kyalami. That's my game. That's my lane. But if you've got the money, then this is definitely everyone's lane. So welcome. I've seen a couple of comments earlier. Pure Blood saying, let's go. Best qualifying of the year. Worst race of the year. The cars need to be smaller and lighter to make Monaco race day good. I tend to agree. It is a problem. It's a very narrow track at the best of times. And so when you've got cars which are like 150 meters wide, it does make it quite difficult to overtake. But you never know. We have had some good races in the past when it comes to Monaco. Maybe conditions, for example, might suit for an interesting race. You could have crashes, for example. That's one thing you usually do have. You do usually have a couple of crashes and stuff like that. So I suppose it's kind of a different race with regards to maybe not as much overtaking, but strategy comes into play a lot in Monaco. But at the moment, Max Verstappen has gone out and starting to set some good times. He has gone fastest early on here, so he's very much putting down the marker early on, which is not what happened in Imola a few weeks ago. So yeah, that's an interesting to see that he's seems to have some good early pace. But Oscar Piastri also going pretty quick there. So the McLarens as well starting off nice and early. We are only literally less than 4 minutes into the session, so still plenty of time for the rest of them to catch up. Charles Leclerc there with the green's first sector. Just going to share this all on the socials and get everybody keen and into the chat. Yeah, an interesting point about on commentary saying the field's closing up, and I think that is true, and that's what's so exciting about this season is that we already have seen I feel more competitiveness this season than we did last season. Last season was mental, and it just wasn't fun, and you kind of get over it. This season's already been a lot better. We've already seen the McLarens with early pace. I still feel that Ferrari's taken a step forward. I wonder. Next season, for example, they're making big moves. It's an exciting time to be a Ferrari fan. Maybe a bit of false excitement, but still, for me, an exciting time with regards to the signings they're making. Lewis Hamilton obviously coming. I've never really supported Lewis Hamilton as a driver because he's, never driven for my team, but you can't deny the caliber he is. And looking forward to see exactly what he can get out of that Ferrari next season. Old Man who's saying, hello, everyone. Going to be interesting, I think. Hello, Lindira. I hope you're well. And hello, Narelle Pokita saying, hi everyone, just doing a quick lunchtime pop in. Well, let's all jump in. Let's enjoy an hour of free practice. We will be live once again, obviously, later as well for the second practice of the day. And then tomorrow we will be live for third practice, qualifying Sunday of the race. We're also live for Moto GP throughout the weekend. So we even had a stream for the Formula E. So basically, if you're a motorsports fan, look no further. Also, if you are wondering if you're potentially colorblind and why you are seeing this weird yellow car out on the track, well, that will be your McLarens for this weekend. A special Monaco livery, a tribute to Ayrton Senna. And I tell you what, it's difficult to miss them. I mean, not that you ever really do miss the McLarens in their usual bright orange, but the yellow certainly standing out as we're busy watching on board with Alex Albon, who didn't have the best time in Imola in that first practice where he his engine just gave up, basically. Well, I think it was the second practice. I'm pretty sure it was the first, actually. But Hamilton, by the way, has just set a fastest first sector. So, nice early pace there from the Ferraris. Kevin Magnussen also, remember, he sat out of that first practice session as Oliver Behrman got a bit of time in the cockpit last week. So, Good to see him back in the car and setting some nice early pace at the moment. So at the bottom over there, you kind of got the usual suspects and the likes of, and as I said, they start to move up in the world. When I was looking at Zhao, Albon, Ocon, but Alex Albon there, much better lap from him. And then Norris now goes fastest. So yeah, let me know what do you guys think. What are your predictions for the week ahead? You know, how are we feeling about it in general? Good afternoon, TCC. Hope you're well. Please also, by the way, if you just jumped in, please do smash like on the video. Come and show a bit of support. Let's get as many people in here as possible because we want to get the chat going, don't we? You know, that's the big thing about this. It wants to be a conversation. We want to talk to each other about exactly what's going on in the various sessions and debate and see what everybody's teams are, for example, who they're supporting, what do they think. So Old Man Roo saying, is Danny ahead of Yuki? Well, it is early, but currently he is. No, I lied. Yuki Tsunoda has gone faster there. So Yuki continuing to have a bit more pace. But as I said, we are literally not even 10 minutes into the first session. So we're seeing lots of fastest laps here. Charles Leclerc now coming through with the fastest lap. And so the Ferraris and McLarens are at the top there. Pretty much all cars are out on the track at the moment. In terms of the compounds, Verstappen and Piastri on a set of mediums. The rest of the cars are all on hards. And a big race for Charles Leclerc. This is his home Grand Prix. The Monegasque has never won around the circuit in any division. F2, F3, go-karts, you know, blackjack, poker. Never won in any division here at Monaco. So if there's one that he would want to win, this is the one he wants. You know, is the everyone's got obviously, you know, you want to win your home Grand Prix as well as to try and win certain key ones. Well, his home Grand Prix is the big one. So yeah, I think it's one as well. You know, he needs to win the season. I think that's also pretty important. The fact that he hasn't really kicked on so far this season and been as strong as people might have expected him to. And so he needs to start stepping up, really, and start showing that he is as good as he thinks he is, because he believes he's a world champion. And Ferrari also believe that he's world champion material. But at the moment, especially last season, very disappointing season, he hasn't really shown that. So needs to start doing that over there. Kevin Magnussen jumping out of the top 10 there. Bottas coming through with a decent lap. Lance Stroll jumping into that top 5 as well. Tim Hope says, match will be fast. Are you kidding me? Well, yes. I think, you know, we'll wait and see. But if not in this practice session, I'm pretty sure we'll see him as fastest when it comes to qualifying. It's just generally how the Red Bulls go. They threaten to not be fast, and then they clean up in qualifying, they clean up in the race, and we go once again. I'm going to try to be a bit more optimistic that we're in for a good weekend. It's a lot of motorsport happening over the world, a lot of sport actually. I was having this conversation. If you're a football fan, there's an FA Cup final tomorrow. If you're a rugby fan, there's big finals happening. If you're a cricket fan, there's IPL finals happening. There's just a sport overload this weekend. In fact, I might actually have to book Monday off because of all the sport that there is to watch, including the Monaco Grand Prix, which will sort of bring everything to an end, really. In fact, no, there's an IPL afterwards. Oh, goodness me, I'm in heaven as a sports fan this weekend. So now I just need all the various spectacles to offer and deliver a really cool event. Right, so we put a poll out, and it's 84 votes. So far, McLaren leading the poll for who will be quickest across the first practice. Ferrari coming in second, Red Bull in third. Not too much support for the two Mercedes drivers. They're currently sitting at 6th and 7th fastest for the session. But In terms of the Red Bulls, well, Max Verstappen has set a purple first sector, so let's see what he can do. Carlos Sainz just goes second fastest over there in the session so far. We've had just over 12 minutes so far in the session, and yeah, we'll probably be running for another 5 to 10 minutes before the cars will come in, do a few adjustments, and then we'll see exactly what, by the end of the session, we'll see sort of maybe a closer idea of what the various cars are looking at and where everyone's sitting at. It is a very, very bright McLaren, isn't it? The bright yellow livery for this weekend, a special livery. And Max Verstappen does go fastest. So there we go. Max Verstappen starts to get on his bicycle and start to lay down a bit of the law and sit there, just to remind everybody, that he is the one to beat. I don't think anybody really needs reminding, do they? When it comes to the likes of Max Verstappen, he is just in a different class at the moment. But Narelle saying Monaco is about driving on the edge all the time. It punishes any mistakes ruthlessly. I 100% agree. We've seen some spectacular crashes. They're not the right word, but genuinely. And some very interesting incidents because it is such a narrow street circuit kind of. I mean, look at that. You look over there. That's just coming into the pits. And it's tiny. I mean, even over here, to barely get into this. Gaz is saying we have an issue. So they're going to investigate that. Are the Alpines? And Old Man Roo saying, I hope Alonso has better run this weekend. Yeah, it's not quite been the Alonso we've wanted to see lately, has it? Last year we saw the Alonso that we all knew we could have in a decent car, and I'd still love to see. I mean, for example, it talks about who's going to take that second Red Bull seat. Do they? Alonso won't move, I don't think, away from McLaren. I mean, from Aston Martin anytime soon. He'll probably finish there, but it would be very cool to see what he could do in a proper car. That Aston Martin threatened to look good, and they've kind of just faded away. But for example, Alonso in the McLaren now. Even Ricciardo, in Renault, he wasn't doing is great. Struggled in the McLaren. So I would be interested to see what he would be doing in a decent car. But at the moment, he's not really justifying a bit of a lock up there from Carlos Sainz. Not really justifying giving him an opportunity in a decent car because at the moment he's not even outperforming his teammate in the same car in that Visa Cash App RB. So until he can start outdoing Yuki Tsunoda on a consistent basis, he doesn't really have much of a leg to stand on when it comes to justifying being given a potential seat in a better car or in the main car of the Red Bulls there. So yeah, at the moment, Verstappen fastest, Leclerc second, Piastri, Sainz, Norris. So those 5 over there at the moment. Sergio Perez not quite on the pace of there. Here we go, all the cars coming through on the yachts. And imagine sitting on those yachts. Imagine sitting on the stands opposite the yachts, and it's just like literally looking at everybody else richer than you. Not that you're poor, you're anywhere near Monaco for this weekend. But the McLaren looking very good through this track so far. Oh, almost a bit of a wide there from Piastri. I tell you what, as mentioned earlier in the comments, there's just no room for error when it comes to this track. It is so narrow. This is one of those when you see the slow modes of how close these cars get to the edge on the curves. It's just mind blowing, to be honest. Mind blowing. You start to see, you get a whole new respect in these sort of street circuits for these drivers with regards to just how hectic and how intense these races are, and how you have to have such little regard really for your. I wouldn't say little regard for your safety, but you have to basically just back the car and just say, well, if I crash, the car will keep me safe because I've got to push every single limit. I've got to find every half a second, quarter of a second, and I need to try and push that. And that means I'm coming within millimeters, literally sometimes millimeters of a wall, and that's what I got to do. That is the life of a racing driver. So, yeah, it's the life they chose, but it doesn't make it any less scary or any less dangerous. A couple more cars on the medium compound now, by the way. So Yuki Tsunoda switched to a set of mediums, as has Daniel Ricciardo. So there's a Visa Cash App RBs. Trying to get some info on those mediums. Magnussen and Hulkenberg finding themselves in 10 and 11 at the moment. So they're finding a bit of speed. Logan Sargent starting to drop down that leaderboard. Pierre Gasly in the pits at the moment. Had an issue with his car, so he's having to sort that out. although I think he is coming back out. Looking at Sergio Perez, the last 5 races are 5th, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 8th. So, apart from that 2nd, not really where Red Bull would expect him to be. They can't expect podiums out of him. You know, I don't think the expectation for him is to win races every single time. That's the Max Verstappen expectation. But for Sergio Perez, it's about podiums. You know, it's about accumulating points alongside Max Verstappen. You know, he's not going to compete for the championship. He's the number 2 driver. They probably wouldn't even really back him to be able to do it. But it's about backing him up as the number 2 driver, accumulating those points, and making sure that the constructors is wrapped up. Now, an issue from Pierre Gasly saying no power, so they're going to box him. Not a good start here for Pierre Gasly, and we're busy riding on board here with Sergio Perez, who's got a yellow first sector, so still striding a little bit there. Bob saying the Ferrari fans are sweating heavily right now. No, I'm alright. I'm not going to get ahead of myself. You know, I've come a long way with regards to tapering my expectations when it comes to Ferrari through many years of disappointments. So I'm not quite as optimistic as I used to be. You know, as I said, I've taped my expectations. I know we're not the team we once were. But I think we are making the right sort of strides to becoming that team once again. And that, for me, is a positive. And you know what? You got to take the positives. If you look at the negatives, it becomes a very, very boring season. This is hopefully the season before the season. You know? All right, Lando Norris, the purple 2nd sector. Let's see if he can take some time off that Verstappen. Fastest lap. Yeah, he does go fastest there. Taking the 4/10 of a second off as well, so well faster there. Sorry, I lied, 400ths of a second, so only just faster than Verstappen. But good to see that the McLarens are once again have nice early pace. The entire team in those colours of Brazil, the yellow, green, and blue for the weekend. Right, so at the moment, Hamilton says he's more and more cars going into the pits, but now Charles Leclerc sets the fastest first sector. Again, he would love to be on pole here at his home Grand Prix and really start to compete and do something. Fast second sector as well, so well on pace for a fastest lap here from Charles Leclerc. That'll get the crowd up and on their feet. Nothing more exciting than seeing your home driver pitching up and being competitive early on, which is exactly what Charles Leclerc is, as he does go fastest. With a 1:13.343, 6/10 of a second faster than Lando Norris. So that's a better lap. That's a lap of intent coming from Charles Leclerc. McLaren still at the moment winning the pole. They're actually equal, I lie, with Ferrari 35% each, Red Bull with 24%. We're going to close that poll at halfway through the session, start a new one. So we've still got 10 minutes to vote on that poll. 125 votes. Let's even get that up to 150 votes. If you haven't already, go and vote on who you think will be the quickest in this session. Right, so let's have a look at exactly where we're at. So in the fastest lap so far, the Ferrari is sitting 1-2 at the moment. Carlos Sainz then going faster than Lando Norris. So it's Ferrari 1-2 at the moment, then Lando Norris, Max Verstappen, Yuki Tsunoda once again looking impressive. He looked like he had taken strides ahead in Imola, and he's backing that up so far. Piastri at 6, Hülkenberg at 7, Alonso 8, Perez 9, Alex Albon rounding up the top 10. You've got Lance Stroll at 11, Bottas at 12, Hamilton at 13, Mercedes not very quick so far, Ricciardo in between them, as well as Magnussen before there's George Russell. You then got Alexander Albon, Logan Sargent, Zhou Guanyu, and Pierre Gasly, who's having lots of issues with his car, and not the start that Alpine would have liked to the session and to the weekend, really. You want to start well. You want to get off to a good start and be confident in your car after the first couple of practices. And I suppose the one good news for them is if you're going to have issues in your first practice. Don't have issues in the last practice, or don't have issues in qualifying. Get your early issues in early on, and then you can focus on the rest of the weekend without having to worry that something's going to go wrong on the day. People about to say Yuki's joined down again, reckons he'll get replaced by Lawson in the summer break. Be a massive call to make, wouldn't it, if that does happen? Right, please smash like on the video, by the way. Almost 250 people watching. Let's try and see if we can get those likes up to 50. If you are new, make sure you smash a like and subscribe to the channel as well. We're well past 5,000, chasing 6,000 subscribers on the Forever Motorsports channel. So thank you, everybody. And always cool when I jump on these to see people coming back and to see people that we've chatted with before. So nice, and thank you for being those consistent fans. Love to see it. In terms of who you'll see over the weekend, I think you'll be seeing Reese tomorrow for the third practice as well as qualifying, and as far as I understand, it will be Mark on Sunday for the race. So we're continuing with the different person every day. You know, just got to keep it a bit fresh here. You know, not that you guys would ever get bored of this, but just in case you wanted to hear there's somebody else rambling on about Formula One, then we will change things up a little bit. Right, so Yuki Tsunoda now goes third fastest, by the way. So he's having a great session at the moment. The Mercedes still struggling, well outside that top 10. George Russell down in 16, and it's the yellow first sector. So let's see exactly how far behind he is going to be as he goes past a Haas there on a decent lap here. Let's see what George Russell's got. I think Mercedes in general have been quite disappointing. And I think that, you know, people I think are starting to doubt a little bit of George Russell and the class and the pedigree he might have. I mean, Lando Norris is getting a little lot about when's he going to win his first race because, you know, he's been racing for so long. He's had so many podiums, but hasn't had a win. And I think George Russell, similarly, you know, people are waiting for him to kick on. But at the same time, I think you've got to be very cognizant of the fact that, you know, Mercedes is not what it used to be. And it's tough for him to be in a situation where you're now driving in a car which is not quite as strong as it once was. But at the same time, you got to make sure you're getting everything out of that car. So George Russell there is still not anywhere near race pace at the moment. Riding on board with Max Verstappen, who's sitting green first sector. He's currently sitting fifth fastest for the session. As Carlos Sainz goes faster than Tsunoda, goes back into that second place. Good to see that from the Ferraris, who have come off strong here early on. And Verstappen there, then cutting the corner, so that'll remove his lap. Now, there we go. There's a bit of an intent there for Sergio Perez, who goes faster than his teammate. First time of today, and he goes into that top 5. A big weekend ahead for him. And also, I think, a big weekend ahead for me for Aston Martin. I want to see Aston Martin being strong. You know, you look at the team, and after so much promise last season, they're kind of sitting in fifth. So it's kind of where you expect them to be. I thought at one stage they were going to. I mean, they were last year looking better than Mercedes and better than McLaren before McLaren stepped up. But in terms of the championship at the moment, the Constructors' Championship, Red Bull with a decent lead, about 50-odd points ahead of Ferrari, who are about 60-odd points or 58 points ahead of McLaren, who are, again, about 60 points ahead of Mercedes. Then it obviously gets a bit closer between Mercedes, Aston Martin, Red Bull, or RB, Haas, and Renault. No points just yet from Kicksauber, as well as no points for the Williams just yet. If we look at the driver standings for 2024, Max Verstappen with a decent lead, but not unassailable at the moment. Charles Leclerc currently in second place. He's been quite consistent this season, despite yet to win a race. Sergio Perez in third place, but he's right on his tail is Lando Norris. In fact, there's very little separating that top 3. Charles Leclerc 113, Sergio Perez with 107, and Lando Norris with 101. So not much between there, not much further back either as Carlos Sainz. Then a much bigger gap there, 40 points between Sainz and Piastri, followed by Russell, Hamilton, Alonso, and Yuki Tsunoda sitting with 15 points. Daniel Ricciardo with just 5 points this season is very disappointing. And the likes of Alex Albon, Zhou Guanyu, Pierre Gasly, Valtteri Bottas, and Logan Sargent not having any points. Oliver Behrman, actually, by the way, ahead of Nico Hulkenberg and Ricciardo, despite having just one race. Yes, it was a race in the Ferrari, but what a race it was from him. Very much announcing himself as a big talent in the motorsports future with that single race that he had a few months ago. Look at some of the comments over here. Olman who's saying 3 excellent commentators with sport. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate that. And Pure Blood saying everyone clowns on George, but he has 1-1 with a 7 times world champion on season and is ahead of Lewis this season also. Yeah, but that's what I'm very keen to see next season because, you know, do we judge George Russell harshly? Because I think a lot of people... I don't think people rate Hamilton that highly anymore, you know. So I think people expect George Russell to be faster than Hamilton. But what I want that's why I'm keen for next season, because I think when Hamilton's in a Ferrari, 2 different teams, for example, but will Hamilton get the best out of that Ferrari? Will he suddenly go from being, you know, what is he, you know, 8th? Will he suddenly get into a Ferrari and be in that top 4? You know, is he going to be faster than Charles Leclerc? I think Charles Leclerc is probably feeling a bit nervous actually about Lewis Hamilton. Yes, he'll be excited from him, you know, be able to, you can learn from him, and obviously, you know, the input he's going to have is invaluable. But at the same time, you're the number one driver. You've been backed, and you haven't really delivered. Now they've gone and signed one of the greatest drivers of all time. And yes, he's getting old, so you know you can't afford for him to come in and be like, okay, well, I'm the better driver here, therefore I'm going to be the number one driver. I think next season the Ferrari could very well just go, listen, we're not really going to have a 1-2. You guys go for it. Because it's difficult to know exactly how strong Hamilton's going to be, and you don't want to put all your chips on Charles Leclerc, who has never delivered to the full extent, instead of a proven world champion, multiple world champion. You know, he's used to win the championship for fun, Lewis Hamilton. We are back. Apologies for that quick delay over here. We will have everything back up and running very shortly. Yeah, I'm just going to sort everything out in the background. Yeah, apologies for that. Couple of issues here, but we will be back up very, very shortly. So at the moment, it is still on Charles Leclerc, who is fastest at the moment with a 1:13.132. So he has brought that down a little bit from his earlier fastest time. So good to see. Very, very strong session so far from Charles Leclerc. Very poor session so far from this Mercedes, although Russell has just jumped into that top 10. And we'll move back to the time in just a second. But an opportunity for you guys to continue voting on the in the poll now. So it should be ended. I don't know if it is ended. End poll, end. Right, we're back. We're back. Damien said, was that the whole South Africa had the same problem at the same? Probably. Wouldn't it be like the most South African thing ever to just, as a country, just bomb out at the same time? But we are back, and we do have our timings going once again. So apologies for that. Yeah, you know what? What can we do? Hey, South Africa, our country. It's interesting at the best of times, and it's awful at the worst of times. But hey. I love it, and we've got voting next week. So if you were disturbed by that cutout, then you know to vote for next week. But so we've got. I don't want to lie to you. Officially, we've got 27 minutes left on the session. So I must end the poll here. which has had 208 votes. So we did get up to 208 votes, and they reckon Ferrari's going to be the fastest. Well, kind of a bit cheating, I suppose, leaving it that long, given the fact that they all of a sudden were very much setting fastest laps. But now a couple of other... And there we go. Hamilton, by the way, going second fastest. So maybe he heard what I had to say and decided that he needed to get involved. And most of the cars now are heading back into the pit. As I said, you get to the half-an-hour mark, and they do generally, a lot of them do pit, and they do... Oh, jeepers. Is that Verstappen there that actually clipped the barrier as he went into the pits? Yeah, he did indeed. He did indeed. This is an onboard now with Carlos Sainz. Saying Checo could have gotten out of the way a lot earlier there, so that's just something for race control to take note of. A bit of gamesmanship from the drivers as we go into halfway through the session. Right, I want another poll. Give me a poll. What are we thinking? What would be a good poll? What do you guys want to chat about? Let me know. I want to give you guys the power here. Suggest a poll, and I can throw it out there, and we can chat, we can debate, we can vote, and we can decide on something. So if you have any ideas for a poll, then let me know. Jackie Stewart on the side, three-time Formula 1 champion. That's a nice hat, nice little tartan flat cap he's got there. Love to see it. Little Rolex shirt here. Yeah, I want to represent Rolex. Right, Yuki Tsunoda, fast, looking fast. Now, as I said, I want to see more from George Russell. Well, he's just said a fast first sector. All of a sudden, the Mercedes, it's the commentators' curse, isn't it? I said, I want to see more from them. And after a slow start to the session, all of a sudden, George Russell has said a fast first sector. Piastri said a faster second sector. So, with these guys all going on to softs, Alonso's on a pair of softs, Piastri's on softs, Ricciardo's on softs. We are suddenly seeing the time starting to come down, which you'd imagine. Piastri does go fastest. He does the first person to go under that 113 barrier. Oh, my word. Russell is flying around this track, by the way. He's 0.2 of a second down from that Piastri lap that's just been set. And that I haven't seen that Mercedes look this faster on this track all day. He's flying around. The sparks are flying around there. Here we go. Are we going to see a faster time? We are going to see a faster time. George Russell giving me the middle finger. And fair play. I mean, if you don't think I back you, and you want to come back and tell me off, well, I suppose that's how you do it. And so Russell back to the top of goes to the top of that leaderboard. So Russell fastest, Piastri second fastest, Charles Leclerc down in a third, but on a set of mediums. So as you can see, all the soft tires, all of a sudden, we start moving up. Kevin Magnussen's a decent lap on a pair of mediums. Daniel Ricciardo and Yuki Tsunoda both on a pair of softs. Let's see what Yuki can do. Danny has to show something. I mean, he's got to show something. He's losing time to be able to show his pedigree. And they're not going to stick with him for a lot longer if he can't match the Daniel Ricciardo of old. And that's, I think, the biggest problem. It's not just about him being worse than his teammate. It's just not what he used to be. So it's a frustrating time for him, and he'll have to just ride a bit of a wave. Read the comments. DMX saying, racing Monaco is not easy. Peelblatt says back to 100% V8 ICE engines, yes or no? I don't know if we'll see it. I wouldn't mind it. I think we all miss the noise, don't we? That was me growing up with those jeepers, and the noise of the Formula 1 cars. I remember I went to go watch A1 when A1 was still a thing, and even that was pretty loud. Although he says Russell has class, but Mercedes had lost it way a bit. And the track map, oh my goodness, I'm not quite sure what's happened there. How's that happened? What is going on here? Apologies for that. That is all should be sorted now. Everything is going AWOL. This is the problem with doing anything in South Africa, is that everything just falls to pieces. It is back. Thank you for letting me know. No idea how that happened. But we are back. It is all sorted, so apologies for that. Having all the issues. But again, much like Gasly, who's 5 seconds behind it, if you're going to if you're going to have issues, have them in the first practice and not on the race. So we're the same. This is our first practice as well. Not sure how many pit stops you can do on me, but in terms of setups, pretty much this is the rig you've got. Unfortunately, I can't put a pair of softs on, really. But Hamilton, by the way, is the fastest and to the third sector there. But Piastri, once again, goes fastest. And now they're starting to threaten that 112 barrier. I want to have a look back at it. I was just trying to check earlier the qualifying for Monaco in 2023. I want to see what sort of times were. And I'm interested to see what times we might be threatening this weekend. So last year, the official pole time was 1:11.365, set by Max Verstappen. Second place was Fernando Alonso. Charles Leclerc was in that second grid in third place there. And Esteban Ocon, remember he had that phenomenal qualifying last year, was in fourth. Pierre Gasly in 10th. All of a sudden we thought that Alpines were going to be threatening to do something. Haven't seen that from them this year. Now let's look at this replay and just how close. That's not even how close. He clips the barrier there. But I mean, if you've been watching, they've got these the plastic sort of banners, and they're being ripped to shreds by these cars because they are getting that close to them. It's mental, absolutely mental. Old man saying very seriously, Danny on the ropes. DMX saying, I think the best setup for the car is going to Russell at the moment in Merc. And Ian reckons that Russell is better than Hamilton. So we have got just over 20 minutes left of this first session, almost 20 minutes on the dot. As I said, Yuki Tsunoda at the moment still looking very quick, and as he passes his teammate there, he's currently on an outlap. So the Alpines at the bottom, way behind. The Haas is having a bit of a better session here. Aston Martins haven't featured too much. Fernando Alonso sitting in fifth place, but not really threatening the top four just yet. Much the same. We haven't really seen the Red Bulls come on soft just yet, so difficult to say what they'll be like when they do go into the softs of this session. But they were fast early on, so I expect them to be very much in contention come qualifying. Right, poll. What have you guys got for me? Give me a poll. Give me a poll. I want to say, we're talking about Mercedes. Who should Mercedes back? Or prioritize? Back as number one driver between Lewis and George this season. Also, an interesting factor to that is you've got Russell, who's going to be there next season. I'm pretty sure he's already signed. And you've got Hamilton, who's confirmed leaving. So do you, A, back your world champion, who's been loyal to you for many years? Do you, B, decide, well, actually, he's there next season, you're not yet next season, therefore we need to prioritize him to make sure that he give him the best opportunity for next season. Because then we look at the driver lineup for next year. The Ferrari lineup is confirmed with Charles Leclerc and Hamilton. Hamilton obviously leaving Mercedes means there is a seat available in a Mercedes next to George Russell. No confirmation just yet that Sergio Perez will continue for Red Bull, so there's a seat open there. Alonso confirmed for Aston Martin, but not sure just yet. So Alexander Albon confirmed for Williams. Both Alpines not confirmed just yet. No Cash App Visa Cash App RBs confirmed. Neither of the Haas's are confirmed either. And Hulkenberg, the only one, is confirmed for the Kick Sauber. He's making a move from Haas to Kick Sauber. So there is definitely going to be a change at Haas. So still plenty of spots on that driver list for next season to fill. Very interested to see if we see some new faces. Again, like something like Oliver Behrman who's done time in the Haas. Race for Ferrari. Will we see him? There's now a spot open in that Haas because of that move. So are we going to see him make the move? You've got a reserve driver for Mercedes in the form of Mick Schumacher. Does he come back and play second fiddle to George Russell? And as mentioned there by Pure Blood, assuming that Russell does continue, he currently has. He could opt out of his contract if they let him walk. I don't think they would, though. I don't think they would risk losing Hamilton and Russell because they're not going to be able to get Carlos Sainz. So, who are you going to be able to go and get? Sergio Perez. But apart from that, you can't get Alonso. So unless you can lure one of the McLaren drivers away, which they're confirmed for next season, so it would have to be a ridiculous situation for that to happen. So I don't see them letting go of George Russell. I think they'll have to keep him. The question is, who do they add to it? Do they go make? Do they look? I mean, Sergio Perez would be a fantastic acquisition if they could get it. But do they go with Pierre Gasly? Does somebody go? I mean, Pierre Gasly is a Formula One winner, by the way. So does one of the teams take a chance on him and say, well, you've won one before, let's put you in a good car and see if you can win again? And we've got just over 15 minutes left of the session. A lot of cars running on the softs there. Piastri currently the fastest, Russell in second, Leclerc third, Hamilton fourth, Alonso fifth, then the two RBs. So good to see Ricciardo on the tail of Yuki Tsunoda. Then Stroll. Carlos Sainz way back, by the way, but is running as medium. So if you were to change to softs, we'll probably be able to catch that up there. You can see Charles Leclerc, then a yellow sector on the map. And Lando Norris now goes third fastest. Starting to get involved. We've got a yellow flag, by the way, at that sector 1. Not entirely sure what's happened there. We'll wait to see. We've got a replay. This is Lewis Hamilton. Cheap as me, they get close. Trying to work out exactly what now. Green flag now. We've got all clear on the track. Is the call. And I'm trying to work out what happened. Well, now we're saying yellow flag again. Not entirely sure why. Hamilton, by the way, has just gone fastest. There it is. The track is clear. I think we're just slightly behind there on the TV, which is usually actually ahead of the stream. But so we've got a clear track, and we've got a Hamilton as fastest in the first section so far. That's going to be making some news if that's how it finishes. Carlos Sainz now suddenly starting to pick up a bit of pace as well. It'll be nice to see him make a bit of a charge. So the track is red, but at the moment, unless something has happened, which we're slightly behind on the TV, it's supposed to be. Or no, we've got a red flag. Do we have a red flag? Yeah, we do have a red flag. There's debris over here from the looks of it. So Zhou Guanyu, he's gone to the side. So there's some debris. And Leclerc saying that he went over some carbon parts under the floor. So it looks like that's, you can see the front wing of Zhou Guanyu, and then Leclerc driving over that. So that is why we've currently got a red flag. So all the cars coming in now. Not sure we'll really have. You could just see as he goes over that. Then he has to radio in and saying, "Oh dear, I've got stuff under the floor." So red flag at the moment. Not sure we'll see any more cars out there. Although it's only a little bit of debris that they have to clear. So we might still yet get a few laps towards the end. But just 13 and a half minutes left of the session. Right, so there are some stewards on the track. There, come on, guys. We're going to move on, yeah? Come on, get the brooms out. Sweepy sweep. Well, look at how things stand currently now with that red flag giving us a bit of a break to look. So no crash. Zhou Guanyu just clipped the side and took off some of his front wing. There you can see the side of his front wing. Actually not massive damage on him. But he's not a crash or anything. He's literally drove the car home. He's fine. He's all good. Just slightly clipped the side. So nothing major, which is why I think we might yet get a few more laps back in. They'll change the front wing, and as far as I'm concerned, I think it'll be good to go back out. So the other car's got a bit of opportunity now, and we've got just over 10 minutes left of the session, 12 minutes to be precise. And let's have a look at the moment, shall we? So in the fastest so far, it is the one of the GOATs of Formula One, Lewis Hamilton, and the number one, and it's the Mercedes and McLarens right at the top there. So Piastri at second, Russell at third, Norris at 5. Charles Leclerc has been faster than Sainz throughout the session, been one of the fastest of the session, sitting in 5th place. Then the 2 Aston Martins have decided to kick in. Sonoda, Ricciardo, not too much in between them. Then Carlos Sainz, Sergio Perez. And then we've got a lot of these cars not having done any laps on the softs just yet. Zhou Guanyu was on a pair of softs when he clipped. But Magnussen, you've got Albon, Verstappen, Hulkenberg, Logan Sargent, Alexander Ocon, and Pierre Gasly. Pierre Gasly, by the way, has had issues throughout the session with his car. Didn't have power, had to come in early. So he's not had the session that he would have liked to have had. In the meantime, we've got a very interesting poll running in the comments saying, who should Mercedes back as number one driver? Russell with 54%, Hamilton with 46% so far after 92 votes. Let's get that up to over 100 votes here, people. And you can see a couple of the Ferrari engineers underneath. They're just making sure that there wasn't too much damage with Charles Leclerc having driven over that that little bit of debris that was left over by that car from Zhou Guanyu. Right, race session will resume at 14:20, which is in 40 seconds. So, as expected, pretty easy to clean all that up, and the cars will be able to get back out there. On board, Logan Sargent. Let's have a see how he's going. Complaining about either Danny Rick or Yuki getting in his way through to back, saying it was really bad. He's somebody that I don't think too many people have too much time for, Logan Sargent. Admittedly, hasn't had the best of results in races, so maybe that's probably why. But yeah, best way to shut up all your haters or your doubters is to go and put in some big performances. Right, there is rain coming in. So it's 21 degrees, by the way. The track temperature, as you can see on screen, is 34, or just called 35 degrees. But rain is incoming, and it doesn't look too hard at the moment as the cars do get back out on track. But I think if you look at the weather forecasts for Monaco, Sunday looking pretty clear. Precipitation-wise, looks about 56%. No, in fact, no, clear on Sunday. Sunday is apparently 0, so no chance of rain on Sunday, so that's good to see. Apparently a bit of rain, potentially looking to bother the second session, 56% expected at about 6 o'clock. So when we are back live being later, we could very well be in rainy conditions. But it looks like it will be all clear come Sunday, which is the main thing. TCC saying, I think Mercedes has to decide who to back on a race-to-race basis. It's about maximizing points for the team, and neither drivers are not fighting for the championship anyway. Yeah, true. It's really about the constructors, isn't it? It's about how many points can they get out of the season as opposed to either of them being prioritized to try and win a title because they're just not anywhere near a title race at the moment. Verstappen's back out on a new set of mediums. So likely to finish the session on those. Unless he comes in after a few minutes and puts on a pair of softs. Mark Webber watching on. 9-time race winner between 2002 and 2013. The Australian. 42 podiums. Across his 216 races. Looking a bit old as Mark Webber, but I suppose he is going on in years. Experienced, I think, is probably the polite term. Looking experienced. Looking mature. Right, so are we going to see any change to those fastest laps? I'll be surprised. Majority of them have changed their tyre compound in that stop. Hamilton's on a set of hards now. Most of the people have gone to mediums. So Leclerc is still in the pit at the moment. Alonso's now on an out lap. Stroll, now everyone seems to be going out. Leclerc is also just coming on an out lap. So most of the people getting back out there, but looks like lots of people have gone back to those mediums. So I don't think we'll see a faster time than a 1:12. 1:69. So Hamilton very much setting the pace. A reminder that last year the qualifying was a sub 1:12. Max Verstappen on pole with a 1:11.365. So that takeoff just under a second. Well, that's what we reckon we'll look at once we understand. When we look at the fuel level stuff like that. And more empty tank come the end of qualifying tomorrow. So 7 minutes left, and it's been an interesting session, actually. I don't think too many people would have picked the Mercedes to have been up towards the top of that leaderboard. So yeah, it's been an interesting. Oh dear, Yuki Tsunoda. Maybe it could be an unsafe release there from Haas. There we go. Race control. Magnussen has been investigated for an unsafe release ahead of Yuki Tsunoda. They will be investigating that apparently. That's just come through. Noel says that I like Joe Ganu, but what are the chances to keep a seat? Thoughts? TCC saying, I wonder how much sponsorship Joe brings to the team. That's an interesting point, actually. Like, being Chinese obviously brings in a massive audience. He's 24 years old, so he's still relatively young. Will he keep his seat at Kick Sauber? I don't know. Will he stay in Formula One? As I said, there is a certain amount. Maybe it's a silly thing to even talk about the fact that it's a factor, but he does. I'm sure he'll attract a lot of investment and a lot of lots of fans too, from a Chinese perspective, being the only Chinese driver on the grid. So he's very marketable, for example, which maybe shouldn't be a thing, but definitely is. I mean, if you watched, very poor example, but I don't know if you guys have watched the movie Gran Turismo. I mean, they were trying to choose the drivers, and they're saying, well, one is so presentable. He's he's a pit with sponsors. He's such a good marketable driver. Where the other one wasn't as marketable, but was faster. But they were saying it's such a small difference that you go with the marketable person. And I've seen that, for example, with golf. I've met a couple of golfers, and one of them that I've met is very much a social character. Gets out there, chats to people. You can't not like him, and he's got sponsors, he's got backing, and in that kind of sport, for example, having that money, having that backing is everything. So there's no doubt that that's becoming a part of being a sportsman. It's not just about your talent anymore, because there are so many talented people. There is definitely a factor as well. Yes, you're talented. He's equally as talented. What do you bring to the table? That is the question. Hamilton's lap was not on a hard tire. It wasn't a soft tire, by the way. He's just on hards now at the moment. So, unfortunately, yeah. So, it doesn't say what tire he set that fastest lap on. He was on a pair of softs when he did it. It was a bit earlier before that red flag. Into the last 5 minutes of the first session. A reminder that we will be live later. The second practice starts at 5 o'clock. Right, let's see how our poll's doing. Have we got up to 150 votes? Yeah, 127 votes. Come on, let's get to 150 votes, and then I can close that poll out. So I was asking, who should Mercedes back as the #1 driver? Hamilton or Russell? And it's neck and neck. So really do go and give your vote. Also, thank you for getting us past 50 likes. As I said, we will be live at 5 o'clock. Well, but the stream for the next session will start immediately after this. There's F2 qualifying coming up. I think it's at 3 or 10 past 3. Until just after 4, and then 5 o'clock will be the second practice session for Monaco. And then tomorrow, and I'm not going to lie to you, the times, I'm pretty sure qualifying is at 4 o'clock. The second practice is 12. Everything's usually an hour before. It is. I just confirmed that. The race on Sunday at 3 o'clock. If you're a MotoGP fan, by the way, we are also covering MotoGP throughout the weekend. And so you can literally watch the MotoGP race on Sunday into the Formula One. So you can really get that up. Thoughts on Yuki Tsunoda? Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, he's a bit petulant at times, isn't he? I think he's a difficult person to work with. But at the moment, in the last few races, he's showing a bit of pace. So maybe showing it's worth the petulance that sometimes come with it. Noel saying, I don't think Zhao will stay at stake as they change to Audi. His best bet is probably a Haas or Williams, as he has a safe pair of hands and brings certain financial backing. Yeah, that's what I mentioned. I'm not sure he'll stay at what is currently Kick Sauber. But he's a nice asset to look at. So I think that's an interesting concept. The likes of a Williams and a Haas, try and bring in, especially maybe a Williams, these teams with lower budgets, you can try and bring in a bit more money from there. Maybe an Alpine, for example, might have a look at him. They're all saying that Yuki has certainly upped his game, also matured a lot as a driver. Yeah, I think that's the thing. I think he's shown a lot of progress. I think that there's probably worse to him. It's probably, listen, you're in an RB. This is your season. You've got to show us something. If you don't show us something, we're going to look at something else. Because, as I said, he can be a bit of a pain. He can be a bit, I don't say confrontational. But he's 24 years old. So he's young, but he's not like Oliver Bearman teenage young. And there's very talented drivers coming through. So you get to the stage where you sit there saying, listen, we back you as young drivers in this other team because you're supposed to mature into a driver that can then drive for Red Bull. And if you're not going to start showing progression and showing steps towards achieving that, then there's no point continuing backing you, and we need to look at somewhere else. So I reckon they probably had that conversation with him, and I think he's taken it to heart. And I think since then, he's looked a lot more consistent, a little more mature, as you mentioned, and seems to be a bit of a better all-around driver. A little team radio for Max Verstappen. Complaining about something. I'm just waiting for hopefully to see a transcript of it. We're currently riding on board with Lance Stroll. Yeah, so some feedback there from Verstappen back to the pit as we're into our last minute of the first practice. So, as I mentioned, I don't think we're going to see any changes to that top there. So, if you're watching the thing, that shows you what the fastest laps were on. So, Hamilton on pair of softs. The fastest medium lap was from Leclerc. After that, it was Sainz down 10th. So, the Ferraris didn't... I don't actually think they put a pair of softs on throughout that session. We do have 150 votes on the dot, which means I am going to... I know it's 151. Well, I suppose it's an odd number, so that should give us a result. You guys reckon that Russell should be backed as the #1 driver? Very interesting poll. That was actually quite cool. I'm glad we did that. It was an interesting one. So we'll be doing more polls in the second session, so give it some thought. Come and join me later in a few hours' time at 5 o'clock. We should be having the flag in 10 seconds to bring it close to this session, although I think that we're actually slightly behind, obviously, with the signal bouncing all around the world before hitting our satellite. So that is the official end of the first practice session. The big news is Hamilton as the fastest, Oscar Piastri second, George Russell and Lando Norris. So the McLaren and Mercedes fastest over there. Pierre Gasly with a horror session. He's gone a final lap here at the moment. Here's Pierre Gasly with a green sector there. So maybe yet could salvage a session with a decent last lap. We'll wait and see that, and then we'll close it off for the day. But I think the Ferraris will be happy. The Aston Martins will be happy to be there and thereabouts. The Red Bulls know what they've got, so I don't think they'll be panicking. For example, it's pretty much as to expect. The teams you expect to see in the top 10 generally are. It's just the RBs are there ahead of the Red Bulls. But I'm sure we'll see that change. Right, so Pierre Gasly, that's the 2 green sectors. He's done a decent lap here. What will he come home in? He'll come home in 1:15. He will have it's a faster lap than he was on, but he's still well behind the pace. And as we close that. Right, people, thank you very much for joining me. We will see you guys a little bit later. And go and have an afternoon beer. So I'm going to go do. I'm going to have a cheeky beverage. So I'm going to go... and have that cheeky beverage and check in with you guys all a little bit later. Smash the like on the video. Subscribe if you're new. My name is Steve, and I'll see you in a few. And even